Hello everyone, this is Hemali over here. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing fine. Today in this video we'll be discussing about Ketu. So Rahu Ketu have been a very interesting subject for everyone. By the way, Rahu Ketu are like one entity, but due to its deeds, that one entity got separated into two. Okay, and because now this Rahu Ketu is not one person, because of this we all have a need as human beings, because Rahu Ketu is an energy within us. So we all now long for completeness, we all now long for security. Okay, now yes, they both behave as energies, they both behave quite differently. Okay, Rahu is very different to Ketu, and Ketu doesn't at all behave anything like Rahu. So these both energies that exist on this plane are very different from each other. If you're going through a Rahu Mahadasha, you're experiencing something really different as opposed to what a person experiencing Ketu Mahadasha is going through. Alright, but the thing is, today I want to talk about Ketu, and the reason being that any astrologer that you come across, the one that really touched you, the one that really understood you, the one that made you feel like you're just reading me. Okay, you're I think an insect bit me. And the astrologers that make you feel as if you know that what just happened, my life was an open book all of a sudden. That's a Ketu based astrologer, and that's why anybody who has a prominent Ketu is always interested in these occult subjects. All right, they get interested in all these occult studies, as well as when a person has a good prominent Ketu either through the dasha system, because someone can go through Ketu Mahadasha, right? So whenever a Ketu Mahadasha approaches to someone, they turn towards astrology. So there are 2-3 things going on here. You should have a prominent Ketu in your chart, then you definitely get into Vedic astrology. Okay, you get into these it's called Gun Gyan, Rahasyameya Vidya, right? So you get into this Vedic astrology and Tantra Vidya, all right? And then you should be going through, the second condition is that you should be going through the Dasha of Ketu. The Dasha of Ketu should be approaching you, or you are into it, and then you get attracted to this subject, because it's not just a subject that is a standalone. I have always said this thing, that this is a subject that is very much well integrated with spirituality. Okay, so if you think that where this Vidya has come from, this Vidya has come from the Yajurveda. So the Ved that was written by our rishis and munis, right? So in the Vedic texts there are so many things, and in one of the parts, one of the segments of the Vedas is Yajurveda, and from in that Yajurveda there's mentions of astrology, there's astrology. So similarly other Vedic scriptures talk about other things that is like very much in balance with astrology, but exactly it's not astrology. So those Vedic scriptures tell you a lot about Adhyatma, which is spirituality, right? Which is about yoga, yam, niyam, dhyan, dharana, samadhi, and there's it goes on, so on and so forth. So Ketu is those subjects as well, by the way, and that's why a good astrologer is able to take the astrology and take the spirituality, because they are not standalone, they are exactly what goes hand in hand, and able to present that to you. So that's what a Ketu based astrologer does. Now why is this happening? Because Ketu is depth. Ketu is everything that has given depth to the person, because Ketu is roots. That's why the Mool Nakshatra is a representation of roots. It's one of the nakshatras that is ruled by Ketu. So the first nakshatra that is ruled by Ketu is Ashwini. The second nakshatra that is ruled by Ketu is your Magha, and the third one, the final one in its fire sequence is the Mool nakshatra. So the Mool nakshatra is the one that really teaches one how to ground, how to become grounded like roots. Okay, and that's why any person who has a prominent Ketu, first of all, understands their own depth. They understand their own depth, all right, and they also understand the depth of human psychology, which is why they're able to further pass on the messages of intuition. They're able to further pass on the depth of human psychology to other people. Now they have to, because Ketu brings a huge sense of wisdom, because it is the student of Jupiter. I have talked about that in my previous video, that why Ketu is why Jupiter is Ketu's guru and why Mercury is Rahu's guru. Okay, the latter part about the Rahu can be debatable for some people, but I'll get to that later. So maybe I'll save it for some other video or something. So with that being said, Ketu is like it's a deep well, and so I also want to, like, I'm done today for the topic. I don't really have anything else to discuss, but definitely I want to touch upon one thing, and that is, whenever a person has Ketu in the 7th house, then you must be thinking, okay, the person who has Ketu in first house, the person who has Ketu in first house definitely has depth. That's what you'll be wondering about, right? But what happens when Rahu is in the first house and Ketu goes into the 7th house automatically? So this happens because Rahu has different spiritual energy altogether, okay, going and sitting in the first house. But so it is Maya related to the self, but the 7th house is moksha, okay. 7th house is dissatisfaction, because Ketu has sat there and Ketu is bringing all these energies in the 7th house. But does it mean that any sort of interaction that you have with others, with your romantic interests, as well as the public, people and masses, which 7th house is, which also brings you fame because it's the other people, so does it mean that this 7th house energy has no use in your life? Well, this is why I wanted to discuss this in this topic, in this video, that the 7th house Ketu is going to bring you people of depth, okay. It's going to bring you a partner of depth, because that is what you want in your life, someone to mirror that thing in you which you lack. And it's not that a Rahu in first house person lacks it, but the point is that the Rahu in first house person needs this sort of energy in their life to be able to complete their karmic cycle of life, to be able to understand and realize their spiritual self, all right. This is the reason that Rahu in first house people long for spiritual partners, long for spiritual people to be around them, and they want spiritual friends and network, all right. Because if you see, Ketu is also impacting this, in being in the 7th house, it's impacting the 11th and the 3rd house. So the energy systems are working that way, and it's impacting the Kama Trikona, the desires of the heart. So this is one thing I wanted to clarify. When if someone thinks that I have a Rahu in first house, so I am not a person of death, well, you very much are, but you constantly need that energy from the other person to be able to balance the Maya in you. So I hope that today's video, a short one but a very important one, although with a lot of disturbances that went around me. There's still a lot of disturbances going on. Made sense to you. That's what Ketu is. Ketu based astrologers, the energy of Ketu, and Ketu in 7th house. If you really like my video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon in the next video.